welcome to the Wayne Public Library's virtual author chat. My guest today is Nadia Khan. Nadia Khan is a mother to four little boys who keep her on her toes. She has loved reading and writing ever since she was a little kid. She lives with her family in Nutley, New Jersey. Her favorite color is blue, and she loves baking cookies and cakes with her kids.
Mhm.
She also loves to watch Curious George, Bluey, and Sesame Street with her kids. She's currently catching up on adult shows, Game of Thrones, and Lost in Space. Nadia's picture book, Zoe Wonders Why, recently won a Mom's Choice Award. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank
Please tell us a
you.
little more about yourself and your book.
Okay, so my name is Nadia Khan, and I am a children's book author. In my previous life, I used to be a IT project manager who basically managed a team of 20, let's say, adults per se. And I had four kids, and I always loved writing. Wanted to be a journalist when I was younger, but it kind of didn't work out that way. And I finally got to do what I wanted to do after turning 40 and started writing my book, Zoe Wonders Why, because I didn't see books like Zoe at libraries or even at the bookstore where it didn't there were books about culture and heritage, but learning about it in terms of history, not something where kids were involved in learning more about it. So that's where the idea to start something that many kids can relate to and then hopefully start a discussion on it.
Okay, wonderful. So you kind of gave a little of what inspired you to write Zoe Wonders Why. Um, so beyond that, or did you, when you came up with the concept um, of Zoe herself and of what where you would put her in, in the classroom and what was going to be the activity that the classroom was undertaking at that, to make the rest of the story be about, well, I'll give it away, be about food. So what inspired you to, to craft the story in that way?
Um, I know that my kids had gone through something like this at school too, that they would have World Culture Day or so, and a lot of kids in the class wouldn't really, have enthusiasm to do whatever the assignment was. Yes, they dressed up in their in their like specific clothes or bought their foods and, read off of a piece of paper. Um, I didn't want that for them. I wanted it to be that you can find characters like that in a book that also can be somewhat similar to what all the other kids in schools are going through. Zoe went through that herself. She was confused because everyone else had, just one culture to deal with and one culture to display. She didn't have that. And a lot of kids these days don't have only one culture. Their parents come from different cultures. Some people have, let's say, one parent that's from, let's say, Irish background, and another might be of, Portuguese or something. And the kids might not know how to, be able to project that to the class of the two different cultures. So I wanted kids to understand that it's okay for you to be different. It's okay to have more than one culture. And, you should embrace it and be proud of it. Because basically the world and the United States is a melting pot for um everyone that's around here. And with all the crazy things that are going on in the world right now, holding on to and cherishing what, your parents or your grandparents have given you is what's needed right now.
Okay. Guess that kind of flowed into the next question, which was
Oh,
about the
sorry.
message that you wanted to convey to the readers. But obviously, it's diversity. Basically, there's not just one, and it does come across, especially in Zoe's character, who has multiple backgrounds. Like
Exactly.
her father growing up in Africa, but being of Indian descent, and the mother is Pakistani, but grew up in the
Yes.
United States.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's very multicultural, and it's hard for kids that age to identify with all of that.
Exactly.
And when you're asked to bring in a dish, it's not one dish, it's more than one dish.
Exactly. Exactly.
So are any of the characters in the book based on anyone you know?
Not really. I just well, one of the characters, Zaki, I mean, one of my son's name is Zaki too. So I chose that name because he was always around. But the others no. Zoe's name, always loved the name Zoe. I don't have any little girls, so you know what, Zoe was my little imaginary little girl for that. But yeah, no, I just came up with names, and I tried to make sure I chose a diverse background of names for the kids to understand that there will be people that they encounter and students in their class that they'll encounter that have different names than them. And some names you might not be able to pronounce, but and that's okay, but as long as you know you try to learn what the other person's name is supposed to be pronounced and you're respectful. um you're doing a good job in that sense. Because in this day and world, your name is of importance to everyone, and it holds many meanings to families, and it doesn't just have to be a culture or heritage thing. It just, you know, is important to learn how to say someone's name. I know for my son, they would pronounce his name Adam, and my child would never tell you know, his classmates or his teachers to pronounce it correctly, but he would come home and say, you know, they don't pronounce my name correctly. Is like, what's going on? Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to like be rude or, you know, obnoxious to them to like keep correcting them. And I basically said, no, you have to tell them that how you're supposed to pronounce your name, and you know, your name holds precious meaning to it, and you should do that. So he did go up to the class and you know, tell them like, okay, you know, my name is not Adam. It's actually supposed to be pronounced Adam, and the meaning of it is that it's the name of the first human being that first was here on the earth. And you know, he was special because without him we wouldn't have existed at all. So, and then everyone, you know, basically started practicing his name, and now they're perfect on saying it. And if there was a little Ukrainian girl too that was there, and she had a long name too. And, you know, because of the manner in which he had did his name for them, he made sure that for her name, everyone learned how to say her name for it, because coming from such a war-torn area, and to have someone, have a whole class care about how to pronounce your name, and have like the respect to bring to you with the respect you might have not been getting in a war-torn Ukraine, actually brought her to, you know, feel some form of gratitude, and to feel like, okay, this is a comfort zone. I can feel comfortable with my classmates.
That's great. That's wonderful. Are you currently working on the next Zoe book?
Yes, I am. I've started on it, and then I just have to restart on it. It's going to be about spending time with grandparents, and learning from them. Um, Zoe is going to get an unexpected guest that's going to come into her life, which is her grandparents. But there's going to also be an unexpected situation that happens, that one of her parents will lose their job. And along with them losing their job, she gets an unexpected guest of grandparents who are going to be staying with her. Um, and all the things that go around with it. As a child, um, kids don't really understand when things happen wrong. Even adults, that they think the sky is going to fall and everything, you know, is going wrong and stuff. And um I want to portray in the book for kids that it's okay for things to go wrong, and there's always a silver lining at the end of it. And she might learn to appreciate the things that she has. And that's what kids need to do also in this day and age. And I know kids can relate to the concept of, let's say, mommy and daddy taking you to dance class or to gymnastics, or let's say, to Cub Scouts or so. And for um, a parent losing their job, sometimes you have to stop doing those things. And sometimes kids don't understand that. They're like, "Oh my God, you're so mean, mommy," or "You're so mean, daddy. Like you took my stuff away from me." Like sometimes they'll say, "I hate you," but they don't really, mean they hate you. But for kids to understand with characters like Zoe that it's it's okay. It's just um a pause with their life at the moment, and things will get better. You just have to give time for it, and there's a time and a place for everything per se. But hopefully I get through it and get done with it in that sense.
Sounds good. Sounds like it's going to be tough topics covered, so children
Yeah.
can understand.
I wanted my books for Zoe Wonders Why to be talking about um topics that are not discussed as much, because I haven't seen many books discussing these topics, and it's a lot of things that happen to kids. I mean, I for one know that when I was a kid, my dad did lose his job, and we did go through things that we didn't get to have. But kids are going through that right now with parents losing so many of their jobs and stuff, and um high prices for products and things that we can't get anymore, compared to, like, you know the common things like eggs and milk and bread and things. But um we need to, like, teach kids that they have to be resilient, and they need to be strong, and they need to have a hopeful future, and be positive about it.
Yes, absolutely. How long have you been writing?
uh I started writing, I'd say, since 2018. So, as my last child was a newborn is when I started writing Zoe. And, they say sleep when your baby sleeps. I didn't do that. I had a journal and I started writing. But as he got older and grew, I would write little tidbits here and there for it. So it took a little bit longer because I was raising you know, um, a little toddler and stuff at the time. But hopefully now that he goes off to kindergarten, I'll have more time to um, sit and write.
What was what's the most surprising thing that you learned from creating the book or from writing your writing experience?
Um, I learned that writing the book and coming up with the ideas and the storyline is the easy part. The hard part is actually working with a whole bunch of people and working together to make sure that your illustrator knows what your vision is in your head. My illustrator was all the way in Jakarta, Indonesia. Her concept of what the characters look like, I kid you not, was like Little House in the Prairies. Like they were dressed very conservatively, and I had to go back and forth with her to explain to her that you know kids these days do not dress like that, and adults don't dress like that anymore. I had to create a vision board, go on to different websites to show what people dress like, um, facial expressions, eye structures, and all. So um, there was that. Along with it, working internationally with someone that's all the way in Indonesia. My editor was all the way in Argentina. Um, it was a lot of work. And I want kids and adults to understand that putting together illustrations and the words and making it look like a book is a lot of work. Um, you have to have some marketing experience too, to market your book. Um, you have to be good at try your best to be very uh able to communicate to people and to be able to get your message across to everyone for your book. And the only way really to sell your book is to get exposure for it. And ways of getting your book exposed is, let's say, through social media or having calls like this or podcasts like this to ensure that you get potential readers and people who might be interested in learning more about your book. And it's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. How did you find your illustrator and your editor, seeing that they're in different countries?
My illustrator, you're gonna laugh. I found her through Instagram. I just started doing searching for children's book authors and stuff, and I made a list of illustrators with their portfolios, and I looked at her portfolio, and I actually did like it. And with, the platform of Instagram or Twitter, so it's easy to get in touch with someone and, see if she had any space on her schedule to do it, and she did. And then I had signed a non-disclosure agreement with her because there are chances that some illustrators can take your work and and share it with someone else or have copyright infringement or so. But things like that you also learn as an author about, like, non-disclosure agreements to make sure that your ideas and your illustrations and your vision is protected from people who might want to steal it or make money on their own on it. um yeah, and if anyone else is looking to write a book, I mean, Instagram is a really good platform to see if you wanted an illustrator. Another platform would be Fiverr, and it's Fiverr. And I just have to say, there's so much talent um, out there for illustrators or anything that you might need in that sense.
Wow. Um, I was just, my next question was going to be about your writing routine, but this is fascinating information about finding your. I mean, it lends more into the publishing journey aspect, but it, and your editor. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of authors, and you're probably the first one that's told me that they're getting this stuff outside of the United States. Only one other author told me that it was a contest, and the person she chose, I think, was Australian or something. But we're talking different languages, um, with working with the illustrator and with the editor. So
I
is
think it's
that a problem?
um not really. It's just, I mean, you can communicate with them that, you'd like them to speak in like English and, how much of an experience do they have with the English language and things of that sort. But um, the amount of money I think you spend internationally goes a longer way. I know my illustrator was supporting her family or so, and whatever money I had given her, she was so thankful for it. So, I mean, and there's so much talent globally. Not that there's talent in the United States too, but it's a little, kind of expensive per se. And if you're starting out to write a book, it's better to make sure you stay in your budget. And yeah, if you want, just open your horizon and look globally. There are so many people out there that are willing to help you to get your message and your vision across.
Wow, that's good to know. So, going back to the writing aspect, what is your writing routine? Do you have one?
Um, Usually it's if I can find a nice quiet spot to sit with a nice cup of coffee or so, and if ideas are coming, I just write them down, even if it's on, a little post-it or something. I can write a note of what I think might be an idea, or um create a there's something called a mind map, and it's basically like think of it like a circle, like a spider web, and then you basically draw little lines like a spider web of little concepts that you would like to discuss in your book. So that also would help with the writing process per se. But if anyone is interested in doing that, that actually helps you out with, you know, um, setting the different, let's say, chapters that you're writing or the different sections that you're writing. So you're on track to have a cohesive way of thinking instead on writing your story. Some people write stories that are going in one direction and then you're talking about something else in the next direction, and it's kind of confusing to the reader. A mind map helps um, a potential author to make sure that everything is flowing like as if it was a river.
Okay. And on average, how long did it take you to write this book, or how long do you think it's going to take you to write your next book?
I don't think it should take longer because I think the first book always takes an author a longer time to write because you don't have practice with it. I think it shouldn't take that long. I just need to sit down and have the right amount of time to like write the ideas and stuff down and then send it off to an editor to work with making sure it sounds right and then the story is flowing the way it should be. I do want to point out that as an author, your first draft is not always your final draft. You usually go through maybe 5 to 6 versions, and there's always crossings off, and sometimes certain sections are like crossed off by your editor that you're would not make any sense, and it kind of does dishearten you, but you know what, that's the process of learning, that's the process of writing. And it's a lot of hard work, but it's worth it because um I would say a children's book is literally like your little baby that you're not really giving birth to, but you're bringing it to the world for children to read and enjoy.
Yes. Do you hear from your readers, and what kind of things do they say?
I do have reviews on Amazon, and people have said that their kids loved the books and they actually want to try the different foods that what Zoe had in her book, because in the first section, in the beginning section of the book, I have a glossary of terms of foods that are in the book. And after reading the book, kids have said, like, you know what, I really want to try this out, or can mom and dad, can you take me to a restaurant where they have jollof rice or so, or I want to try some pierogies. Or I've had at a library that I've gone to, there was a little girl who was half German from her father's side and her mother's side was Japanese. And after the reading, she went up to the librarian and said, can you show me if you have any recipe books for like German delicacies, because I really want to bake like uh some German like baked goods or something with my mom for my dad, and I'm pretty sure my dad would like enjoy it. So, could you help me out to find something? And those little things were, as an author, that makes you proud that at least children are going out to learn more things about themselves and not just, sitting in front of a computer screen playing Roblox or Minecraft like my kids are.
Fine. And I have to say, I read the book and I was like, I want to taste some of this food. Like
Uh,
I was like, where can I go to get some of this food? It sounds delicious. Um, so I agree with the kids. What was, you kind of described a little bit, what was your publishing journey? Like once you completed the manuscript for the book, what was your next step?
the next step was to um for after I completed the manuscript, I sent it to the editor. She did her 6 to 7 versions of changing it. And then after I got that, I had found my formatter. His name was Alejandro. He was all the way from Argentina. Um, I sent it to him. Before sending it to him, there's also a non-disclosure agreement to him because that of itself, you're basically giving your whole book to him, and you have to make sure as an author that nobody steals your work, because there's a lot of people out there that would love to steal other people's ideas and make money off of it. Um, he worked on his thing, and then he basically decides what type of fonts are good and gives you an option as a formatter to see what would work for children, because there are some fonts that don't work for kids, and certain other ones that do. So let's say Arial works for kids. It's easier on the eyes for them, and Times New Roman does too. And he basically formatted everything for me, and then gave me the final product. And I had to work with KDP, which is part of Kindle Direct Publishing, which is part of Amazon, and upload my manuscript. You have to select different categories um, for your book that potential customers might be putting into the search engine to search for your book. And then finally determining what price do you think you should be charging for your book. Um, I really want your readers to understand that children's books do not get paid a lot of money. Um, by the time Amazon puts its costs in, literally we authors make like maybe $4 on the book. So if a book is for 15.95, we are only making $4. We literally can't even buy coffee. We might be able to buy one cup of coffee, for the royalties, but like the amount of work that goes into making a book um is a lot. And sadly, we really don't get paid much um for it, but I want kids to understand that it takes a lot of work to write, and if you have a goal to do something, you should work hard to get to it then.
Okay. Um, you've told us a little bit about the art that you're from your illustrator. Um, how much input did you have in the choice of the title and the cover art or the illustration? You mentioned that, styles, but um, did you, when you lay out the book, I mean, there's certain i- things that happen in the book that you chose to have images with, so the illustrator had to create it. How much input did you have in that, and much did you like say, I need it for this scene or that scene? Um,
Yeah, so with her, I basically decided as the author where I wanted the pictures to be. So I would take little snippets or blurbs of um from the story and say from this blurb, please make an image based upon this. And from this page, I want this image to be after this page of text. So she did that in that sense. But she would send, every time she did an illustration, she would send it to me to make sure that it is the way I wanted it to be. Some illustrators, they basically do all the illustrations, and then they give it to the authors, and I didn't want that. I wanted her to basically make one illustration at a time, so I know that I'm providing the reader with the right quality of work for children to understand. I wanted to make sure that um whatever she was illustrating was acceptable for children to see and acceptable for parents to see, because there's too much things that are not proper for children to see. So yeah, I did quality control with each and every picture to make sure that a child would be happy to see a picture of that sort on in a book.
okay. Um, and what advice would you give a new writer that's starting out?
Take your time. Stephen King did not become a best-selling author in a day or a year. I'm pretty sure, had to write 4 to 5 books to get somewhere. It just takes time, but don't give up. If this is something you really want to do it. And it's with not even with authors, with anyone in that matter. If it's something that you enjoy and you do, take your time to do it. You might not bear fruits in the beginning, but you know, with time and patience, they'll come. Um, Imposter syndrome is real. Sometimes when you see other authors having book deals or doing tons of book readings, or they're getting like thousands of dollars in royalties, it comes on you and you're like, am I doing the right thing? What did I get myself into? Things of that, negative things come into your mind, and the best thing to do is to stay positive and just keep doing what you're doing. Don't compare yourself to others because they were doing the same thing as you were. Um, and that's about it.
Okay. And I always end with a fun question. So for you, I'm going to ask, growing up, did you have a favorite book or genre? And as an adult, do you have a favorite author?
Yes. Okay. So when I was younger, my favorite author, you're gonna laugh, was in the science fiction category. He's gone. I think he's dead now. It was Isaac Asimov, I believe. And he wrote about robots and artificial intelligence. I think it was artificial intelligence, but it was very science fiction. And it seems that all those things are coming into play right now with the whole thing about AI. I did see something. There was some in Washington, D.C. They had like robotic dogs or so, you know, walking around or being trained to help, the police department or the FBI or so, with their work. Um, and currently, I the books that I didn't get to read when I was in high school, and I don't even know why I didn't. I finally started reading The Giver, and I got hooked. I loved it. I know it's a dystopian young adult novel, but it was an eye opener to read it. And then I started reading the others that were part of the series. So um I have one more book left to read. And I loved it so much, and I went up to the library and I said, you know what? Like, is it weird that I'm going to the young adult section to like read like, Lewis Laurie's books? And she's like, no, there's a lot of people your age group that, didn't get a chance to read it and now they're reading it. But there's so much talent um out there, and it just helps. Even if you're trying to become an author, it helps to read other people's work to get an idea of, how did they determine a storyline? How did they make their characters interact with each other? um yeah, it was really good. And the last book I have left to read is The Sun by um Lewis Laurie. I don't know if you've read it. um
Not read. So that's your favorite author now as an adult?
yes, at the moment it is, it is. I don't think she has any other new books at the moment.
Have not heard. No, don't do much with the young adult, but um, absolutely, young adult is very popular for adults. Very.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you, Nadia. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing some of um, what it took to write Zoe, and for telling us a little bit about your publishing journey and the craft of writing. And thank you again, and we wish you the best of luck for the next Zoe book, which sounds very interesting, and I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to check out my Instagram handle, it is Zoe Wonders Why. And if they would like to get a copy of the book, it's on Amazon. Just search for Zoe Wonders Why. My audiobook actually launched this week, so it's on Audible in case if anyone wants to have a good listen for 20 minutes. I didn't narrate it, but I did hire um, a narrator named Dominique Franceschi. She's done quite a number of narrations, and yeah, if you have Audible, you can listen to it on there for about 20 minutes or so.
That's
Um,
wonderful. I'm a huge audiobook person, so it's awesome hearing that
okay,
books are on audio. That's excellent.
thank you so much.